Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories and some great insight on things related to prison and the streets, and I'm going to share some with y'all today. So let's hop right up into this video. So you see the thumbnail. The rapper Tory Lanez has been sentenced to 10 years after he was convicted for shooting the rapper Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. Right now, I believe initially he was supposed to be sentenced in April, but he was trying every trick in the book, in my opinion, not to be sent to prison. Now, if you guys don't know who Tory Lanez is, he was a relatively pretty famous and wealthy rapper. He was originally born in Canada, but he's done some big songs, and he was well known in the rap industry. And so, like I said, he was convicted of shooting the female rapper, Megan Thee Stallion, in the foot. And so he was supposed to be sentenced, I believe, back in April, but once he was found guilty, he fired his lawyer, said his lawyer was ineffective. He got another lawyer, said that lawyer had let some evidence come before the courts that shouldn't have been before the court, before the judge and jury, or whatever, something like that, man. But whatever the dude kept, he had 3 or 4 different dates he was going to be sentenced, and they would postpone it. So he finally got sentenced a little earlier today, and they gave him 10 years. Now, to be honest, I thought he was going to get about 15 years. His max was 22 years. I believe the prosecutor was requesting 13 years. I thought he was going to get 15, but I said if he gets anything under 7, he would be lucky. Now, you had some people saying, oh, they're going to give the guy probation and stuff like that. But one thing California does not play with is with the gun laws. He had a unregistered firearm, shot somebody in the foot, and so they definitely was going to send him to jail. In my opinion, it was just about the amount of time that he was going to get. So now, to be honest, my opinion on the man's guilt doesn't really matter. My opinion on his guilt is neither here nor there, because the court's already found him guilty. And so in the eyes of the law, unless he gets an appeal and an appeal court overturns the decision of the judge, then he's guilty. So my opinion doesn't matter, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. I felt the man was guilty, right? And several reasons. I never really kept up with the case, but I did watch bits and pieces of certain YouTube channels that would give updates on the case. And one of his fatal mistakes, in my opinion, was, I believe this crime happened and he was arrested somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning. The very next day, while he was in the county jail, he called, I believe he called Megan from a jail phone. And of course, those conversations are taped. And he apologized for shooting her. I've done a whole lot of things in my life, right? I have never apologized for something that I didn't do. Then there was also some type of text messages that he had sent to her. I believe somewhere in the course of communicating with her, somewhere too, he had also offered her $1 million. So anyway, all those things came back to haunt him. You have a lot of people out there who was riding with Tory Lanez, believing he wasn't guilty and things of that nature. Actually, I've heard some people say, well, what about Megan? What about Megan Thee Stallion? Initially, she said that he didn't shoot her. She told 2 different stories. Well, my opinion on that is this. I haven't heard a lot of Megan's music, right? When this initially happened, when he was found guilty, I believe I went and listened to a couple of her songs. And the 2 songs that I listened to, nowhere in her lyrics did she profess to be a gangster rapper, a street person, or whatever. Now, it's sad that in this rap culture, right, if you happen to rap, then they want to depict you as a gangster rapper, meaning that you have to accept and abide by the street code, the street culture, right? And I believe that's extremely unfair. Just because a person is a rapper doesn't mean that this person has professed an oath to the streets. And I say all that to say, in my opinion, it's very well known in the black community that, especially in the urban culture, these rap circles, that snitches are something that's extremely despised. And so I believe that, all that came into play when she initially said that he didn't do it. The fear of her being ostracized by her peers, how, other rappers would perceive her if she snitched, quote unquote, on Tory Lanez. And when she finally did come out and say he did it, yeah, she was definitely opposed by some in the rap industry. She was definitely called names and stuff like that. And so, in my opinion, that's why initially she gave conflicting statements about who shot her. At the end of the day, when you're dealing with a woman, right, a woman cannot physically whoop you. Most men will have no problem physically taking care of a woman, getting into a fight, if that's the situation. Also, most women know this. And so where do they get their revenge? A woman is not going to whoop you. A woman is not going to 9 times out of 10 pick up a weapon and try to exact revenge. So you have to think about these things. We have to think about these things when we're dealing with females. A female's primary option and her action of recourse is calling the law, So you had people saying, well, somebody else did it, and she's lying on Tory Lanez. Once again, my question is, we know the revenge of a woman, right? Women want revenge. Like I mentioned earlier, I believe they say he had offered her $1 million. Now, if that's true, and she turned down $1 million, why would she want to send someone who didn't attack her to prison? A person, of course, who's going to seek revenge through the courts, they're not going to want to send somebody who didn't harm them to prison. They want to see the person who they feel is guilty, who inflicted the injury and the pain upon them, go to prison. So sometimes I believe some people use ludicrous arguments and unrealistic arguments to try to prove a point when they become emotionally invested in a situation, right? So and also, you're going to have some people mad at me. Now, I don't want to see nobody go to jail, right? I'm a person that done 24 years straight in prison. I know jail is it's a horrible place to be sometimes, but on the other side of the coin, man, I was born in 1971. I just turned 52 a couple of days ago, man. I was raised in a small town. Everybody knew everybody. The black community was even smaller. We all grew up knowing everybody. And so I say all that to say, I was raised, man, we protect black women. I might be down the street somewhere and I see somebody getting into it. I might not be related to her, but that's my homie's sister. That's my homie's cousin. That's my homie's aunt. That's my homie's mother. So on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And so I believe that we protect black women. What part of the game is it, man, where we start shooting women? Only time I believe that a person should shoot a woman is if that woman is doing something that is life-threatening to him or his children, his loved ones, something right there. If she got a gun on you, she's got a knife on you, okay, if you feel that's your only option to preserve your life, then go ahead, by all means, do what you have to do. But outside of that, you shoot a female, I mean, that's just something that I don't agree with. And whoever don't like it, they don't like it. That's just something that I don't agree with. And so moving forward now. So now people are wondering, okay, what's going to happen to Tory Lanez now that he's found guilty? Okay, so the process now is he's found guilty, and now he's going to do what's basically known as he's waiting on the chain, or he's in Los Angeles County Jail right now. He's waiting on a bus to transfer him to reception center. Now, what reception center is in California is when you leave the county jail after being sentenced for whatever you've been charged with. Reception center is a prison that will assess and analyze you, your crime, your level of education, and they will pretty much determine what security housing that you need. So you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Level 1 being minimum security, level 2 being medium security, level 3 being a little bit more secure, and level 4 being maximum security. And so How that's determined is when you are diagnosed and assessed at reception center, they have a point system pretty much. And the more points you get, the higher level of security they feel that you need. So for instance, when I went, if you happen to be under the age of maybe 25, they would add 2 points. If you hadn't graduated from high school, they would add 2 points. If you had been in the military, they would subtract 2 points. If you had kids, they would subtract points, because assuming that, of course, if you're more educated, if you serve some time, if you have kids, you have a little bit more things to look forward to. You have a little bit more education, and you are less likely to get in trouble. You're more level-headed. And so, after they added and gave you points, they may give you points for the crime that you committed. They may give you points for if this was your first time to prison, if you were a returned offender. And so after all that was done, then they would select and determine what prison that you would be sent to. Now, in my estimation, and things are a little bit different now. I'm assuming that Tory Lanez is gonna go to a level 2 or a level 3. I know when I was in prison at some point in time, if you could be 18 years old, you could be 16 years old and be on a maximum security prison with the killers in the worst of the worst that California had to offer. At some point in time, they realized that sending youngsters who were impressionable, who wanted to be accepted, was not a healthy decision for that youngster. And so I believe they came up with programs now that you didn't have to go right to a level 4 if you were so young and stuff like that. So I think that system has changed a little bit, like I said, for the better. And so fortunately for Torey, I believe, like I said, he'll probably go to a level 2 or a level 3. Now I seen yesterday when they was going through the sentencing phase, and they had individuals speaking on Torey's behalf, speaking about why they believe he shouldn't get prison time or a minimal amount of prison time. A priest that came and spoke up and said that Torey was leading Bible discussions and prayer in the unit that he was in protective custody. So yes, Torey was in protective custody in the Los Angeles County Jail, which I already assumed he was, because listen, that Los Angeles County Jail is vicious. It's a very political place in terms of Crips, Bloods, Southern Hispanics, and if you're not affiliated and connected, you're definitely gonna have hell in there. Let alone being a famous rapper. They would have been extorting that dude up in there, no question, or he would have been getting the brakes beat off him on a daily basis, right? So now someone may ask, well, since he was in PC and the county jail, will he automatically be put in PC when he gets to prison, due to the fact that he was in PC in the county and also because of his celebrity status? Well, let me tell you this. This is something that I know 100% for a fact, especially when I went in. Things may have changed a little bit now because of the 50-50 yards and all that stuff. They had the 50-50 yards is basically they had took all the people from the protective custody yards and started putting them back on the main line, due to you had so many prisons and so many yards that was protective custody right now. So my experience is not of that, because I paroled before they had started implementing that policy. But one thing I know for sure, in California prisons, you cannot be forced into protective custody. So if he goes to protective custody, it's because he requested it. Even if they have, for instance, say you're in a prison, you've been in a prison for 2-3 years, you get into an incident on the yard, they have information that you are going to be stabbed and killed. They still cannot force you into protective custody. Now, they may do one of two things. Well, one thing they're definitely going to do, if you ask to, hey, listen, man, those kites are bogus. I don't believe my life is in danger. I believe I'm safe and I can program and move about on the main line in general population. Put me back on the yard. You are going to basically have to sign what is pretty much, it's like a waiver, basically saying that I don't believe my life is in danger. And in the event something happens to me on the prison yard, I'm relieving California Department of Corrections of all liability. Basically, I'll take my life into my own hands. They're going to make you sign that paper. Then also they may transfer you to another institution but they're definitely going to make you sign that waiver, right? So I say that to say that anytime a person is in protective custody in a California prison, it's because he requested it, right? It's because he requested it. Now, also, some people may be wondering about his transition from the county jail to prison. And they are extremely different. Now, when I went to jail back in 1996 is when I was arrested in 94. I went to prison in 1996. That was my first time going into a California prison. And a lot of people was telling me, hey, chill, man, once you get to prison, you are going to like it much better than being in the county jail, because the county jail is definitely uncomfortable. The food is horrible. You very rarely get to go outside. You're locked in your cell the majority of the time. You may be released into a day room depending on the program that's being ran at whatever county jail you're housing at. The food is much better, and the food is extremely cheaper in prison. When I was in the county jail, I believe a top ramen soup was maybe about 65, 70 cents. And this was way back in 1994. I stayed in the county jail 2 years. When I got to prison, a soup was only 25 cents. So you could probably get 3 or 4 soups in prison for the price of one soup in the county jail. So that was one thing that was much better. Also, when you get to prison, you're allowed to have your personal TV. You're allowed to order personal clothes, tennis shoes, jogging shirts, athletic shirts, sweatpants, toothbrush, hair grease, brushes, combs, deodorant, all types of stuff, that now you are allowed hygiene products. Some of those hygiene products that I mentioned in the county jail, but you're allowed a plethora of things in prison that you're not allowed to get in the county jail. Also, you have much more freedom in prison, especially if you happen to be at a prison that's not on lockdown. So you're allowed to go to the cell. You're allowed to go outside. Depending on what prison you're at, you might be allowed to be outside from 8 o'clock in the morning when the yard opens to maybe about 9:30 at night when the yard closes, if you don't have a job. Or, you may go to your job for 4 or 5 hours. Then you're allowed to go to the yard, exercise, play basketball, go to the law library, read books, do a whole assortment of different things that will make your time go quicker than just sitting in the county jail. Another big difference in the county jail and prison. When you're in the county jail, all your visits, or at least in the Riverside County, in most California and also in most California county jails, your visit is behind a plexiglass. So if you happen to get a visit, you come up there, and sometimes depending on what county jail you're in, your visit may be 15 minutes. So in most cases, who's ever coming to visit you they have to call a day prior and make a visit to see you. So if they want to visit you on Tuesday, they have to call on Monday and make a visit. So they may spend 2 or 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours on the phone just trying to get through, just to be able to come up there and see you from maybe 1 o'clock to 1:15 behind the glass on a telephone. You may have your mother you want to talk to, your wife, your father, your children. So, you guys going to have to work that out, or maybe just come on separate days, because it's no, that time goes by so fast. So once you get to prison, you're allowed to get visits from probably like maybe 9 o'clock in the morning to about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and they are contact visits. You're allowed to sit in the same day room with your family, your loved ones, stuff like that. So those are things that make prison a little bit more comfortable than the county jail. That's if you're gonna have to do time. I was watching I was on somebody's live yesterday, man, dude by the name of Lionel B. Shout out to Lionel B, his show or whatever. And because the sentencing was supposed to happen yesterday, but due to the process of people speaking and, his lawyer talking and this and that, I guess it fell over till today. But you had some people in the comments talking about, for one, they were saying, you had some people saying that he was comfortable in the county jail, or, he's comfortable. He's a millionaire. At least he's comfortable. And then you had other people saying that, well, he's going to be comfortable when he gets to prison. So let me tell you now, I have a very, I don't know if some of you guys watch my show. I have a very upbeat, jovial personality, and prison is sometimes what you make it. But believe me, there's no comfort about being in prison. You may be able to endure it. You may be, in my situation, you may be able to accept it because my situation was self-induced. I was caught up in the streets. I was doing things that I knew could potentially or consequentially lead me to prison. So once I went to prison, I was able to accept, hey, this is an extension of the lifestyle that I was living. But prison is never comfortable. At the time I came to prison, I was hustling, I was selling dope, so I had 3 or 4 cars, just the regular hood cars, the Cutlasses, the Cadillacs with the rims on it, stuff like that, and so prison still would, I still set up and thought about all the things that I had lost. I thought about all the things that I had given up. The money that I was making was nowhere along the lines of the money is rumored to be possessed by Tory Lanez. Of course, like I said, if you can offer Megan the Stallion $1 million to not testify against you, then it's assumed that you have some amount of money. So, a person of his financial stature, it's going to be rough. Them 10 years is going to be rough, especially, around 2, 3, the second or third year, and probably even now, just when you go to thinking about all the things that you threw away, the nice cars, the nice women, the luxury, the nice food, all that stuff you threw away for one foolish decision. So, I definitely believe his financial status is going to even make it harder for him mentally to accept his predicament. Like I said, before he actually got sentenced, he tried every trick in the book. He wanted to drop his lawyer, said his original lawyer was no good. He wanted to say that the verdict should have been dismissed. All these type of appeals and stuff he filed, because it's setting in on him, man. I'm locked up in prison, man. I'm in prison. I threw away a lifestyle many people dream of. If you would just look on YouTube, SoundCloud, myself included, you have thousands of people out there trying to rap, trying to hop into the music life and be acknowledged on a large stage, be recognized on a worldly type platform. And here's this person who achieved a situation that would probably put him in the, I'm assuming, 5, 6 percentile or whatever. And he messed around and he threw it all away, for a foolish decision. Sometimes you may hear people say, how long did it take to mess your life up? And then you may hear somebody else say who's in jail, huh? What are you talking? How long did it take? So the question they're asking was, how many seconds did it take to commit the crime that now is going to alter your life for the next 10, 15, or in my case, 24 years, It's easy to make a foolhardy decision and throw away your life. And so, that's it, man. And then the last thing that I'm discussing here is, due to the fact that he was not a American citizen by birth, he was a Canadian. After he does do his time, he definitely will be deported. I've seen that happen on several occasions. Matter of fact, I got a good friend from Torey Gangster, my boy Spook, who was Belizean. And so when he done his time, after he served his 24, 25 years life sentence, they deported him to Belize. I've seen dudes get deported to Korea, the Philippines, wherever they may be from, But one good thing for Torey, being deported to Canada, that's not a bad thing. That's not, it's not like you're going to a third world country or wherever. It may be nicer over there in Canada than it is in America. I hear they have free healthcare and stuff like that over there. But anyway, that's just my little wrap up right there, man, on Tory Lanez, man. Tory Lanez has finally been given time. He's headed to prison, man. So, also I didn't discuss, how I believe how his acclimation to the prison life will be. Well, once again, I definitely believe he'll request PC. California prison is a very gang affiliated based culture. It's a very devious, predacious, shark type of environment, right? And you have people who prey on people. They don't care if you Tory Lanez. They don't care who you are. Especially you don't have any connections. So he got two options, right? Go to PC, or you hit the yard and you immediately join some type of gang, either being the Crips or the Bloods, the two most dominant gangs in California. Or you could join an up north gang as well. You could say you're from the Bay. You could start running with the Kumi, the 415s, what have you, right? But at the end of the day, you still have sharks and predators in those type of collectives as well. So you still gonna be getting extorted. It might be a friendly extortion. It might not be a, where you getting buffalo, but you still, dudes in that collective. Hey, Torey, yeah, man, hey, homie, I ain't really got no food up in there, man. Why don't you go to the store and get us a little something, man? Or why don't you have your folks, man, send some money to my books so we can go to the store, and we can get a little bit more. So it's gonna be, it's gonna be an extortion, but it's gonna be light-handed. You still definitely gonna be paying, and you may be at one prison and then you go to another prison. And, those people who you was running with up there, their influence don't mean nothing to the dudes down here, because, when you hit the yard, dudes is seeing money. That's all they thinking about, man. They thinking about money. Dudes is probably in there right now, hoping you come to their yard, rubbing man, I need me a rich little small celly. You know what I'm saying? So, it's gonna be rough for the brother up in there, man. It's, like I say, these California gangs is vicious. You got dudes up in there who, they don't have people on the street who are able to send them money, on a regular basis, or sometimes even at all. You got people who may have been in prison 15, 20 years, 35 years or whatever. And so they are looking for someone to, extort, whether it's a rough extortion or it's a underhand sneaky extortion. But anyway, it's gonna be bad for Torey, man. And I don't know how old the dude is, 27, 28. And I believe off that 10 years, unless the laws have changed since I left, due to the fact that he was convicted of a violent crime, he may have to serve 85%. I think I did hear something about those laws had changed a little bit, and he may only have to serve like 60% of that. So I'm not quite sure on that. But anyway, y'all already know what it is, man. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.